All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Whiteboard Brief Podcast. This is going to be the first iteration of our Members Corner episodes. And I am joined with Jeff Hooton.
Hey,
Say what's up, everybody.
how's it going, everybody?
We are going to dive into Jeff's story while I figure out these dials a little bit. We got some new microphones, so I'm trying to get the volume just right. Good. That's much better.
Sounds great.
All right. Geez, it's been, what, a little over a year now that you've been here?
Yeah, I started in July.
Bring that a little bit closer to your mouth.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, I started in July of last year.
Awesome. And so the reason that we have Jeff coming on for this first iteration is that his story is freaking amazing. Him and his wife, Debbie, came in, and I remember, I think it was a Saturday class,
Yep.
and I just finished up coaching, and we sat for a 20-minute consultation for an hour and a half. And the conversations that we had, I just knew it was almost like a match made in heaven. I was so happy as a coach being able to sit down and just hear everything that you wanted to achieve and everything that you had already achieved. And I was super excited to get started. So what I want to start with is, we'll get into the CrossFit. We'll get into, everything that our relationship has been over the past year or so. But I want to hear, who is Jeff Hooton?
Yeah.
Let's start with that.
It's not that interesting, but I'll tell what I can. But yeah, definitely, I want to give back. First off, I appreciate that you spent like an hour and a half with us that day.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the power was out, so you probably weren't too busy. But
Oh, that's right. The power was out.
yeah, so you were like, you shouldn't come, and I said, I don't care about the equipment.
Yeah.
I'm ready to come talk to you.
Yeah.
And it's funny. So I started probably about 8 months before I met you, and I said I got to lose weight first. That was the first thing I did. Calorie deficit, lost 50 pounds.
Now, where did you start? That's going to be the first piece of this.
We could start there too. I mean, I was a mess, about 308 pounds. Just didn't take care of myself. Somebody you probably wouldn't want to hang out with, and it's just I was a mess, a big guy, just. I don't know, probably waiting to die in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
Seriously, I mean, I was definitely something that I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. It was pretty depressing. So for probably about 6 months before that, the day I kind of really started, it's a mark in the sand, is December 5th, 2022. 2022, yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
About 6 months before that, I kept thinking, I got to lose weight, I got to figure something out. So we had this trip that I was going on to California for my job. And it was a beautiful place in California, Ojai resort. It was like $1,000 a night place they put us in. It was just absolutely beautiful. 7-hour plane ride. I bought 2 books. Dr. Sam Slattery wrote The Body Cooperative and Atomic Habits. Everybody probably read that. So I spent some time looking at Dr. Slattery's book, set some goals up on the plane over. I was able to get through part of the book. And I was pretty motivated, right? I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And the other part that really stands out for me is when we were at one of the events. It was very active, like community thing at my job. It was about 30 of us. And we're at the bottom of this hill, California, and we just got done, and they're bringing golf carts, and hey, you want to ride back up because it's kind of a little bit of a hill, quarter mile up, and no, I'll walk, I'll be fine. I was so embarrassed because I thought I was gonna die walking up that hill. I mean, I'm looking around, people are just talking, and I'm like trying to not die.
How much did you weigh at that point?
I was probably about 308 pounds, 310. I mean, I was just bulging out of everything. So
that was the peak then.
Yeah, and so I went and met the guy I work with at the bar. I think I had one drink, and I said right then and there I stopped drinking. So
Wow.
I didn't have a drink for like 7 months from that point. Like it was like cold turkey.
Wow.
Something that I've been able to do in my life. I stopped drinking alcohol, which was big because I was drinking probably 15 plus drinks a week. I was doing whiskey sours like every other night at home.
Wow.
Getting good at it. And spending $50 on a bottle every week probably. I mean, I was just drinking that, eating crap.
Yeah.
Going out, we would go out to eat like 3-4 times a night, a week. And, so nothing healthy. But once that day hit, and Debbie knows me, she's like, when you put your head to something, you do it. Like, I build stuff at home and I just like figure it out.
Oh, trust me.
And I just went right to it. And I've always been good at that. And I'm good at like doing that one thing, you know. So I knew I had to lose weight. The next step was to exercise. And I'm looking at 6 or 7 places. I'm like, I don't know where to go. You know, Debbie and I, like, we've done things over time with different people for different things. And it's like, I don't know who to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sitting at a Chinese restaurant. I'm eating like soup because I'm still trying to figure out how to not eat anything.
And how long after the trip was this?
This is like probably 7 months. I mean, I started with you pretty much right after we met you. So
Yeah.
I was out to dinner and I met you like that weekend. And I think I started like the next week or something.
Okay.
So it was probably 7 months. I already lost 50 pounds. I felt great. I looked great, you know, at the
Yeah,
time.
because you showed me pictures of yourself back when you were 300, and it was not the person that walked into the gym on that first day.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
granted, like
I
where
was
you're
proud. Yeah, I was like, man,
Yeah.
this is great. Sorry.
where you're
yeah.
at right now is like amazing compared to that day.
Yeah.
But even before that, like that's quite a journey that you did on your own getting to that point.
Yeah, and I remember like you know trying to get me to do the nutrition because you knew I was kind of set up for that. And I'm like, oh, I'll be fine. I could do it myself. And you're like, come on,
Mhm.
you know. And one thing I learned, definitely I've been writing stuff down in the last weekend because I'm trying to set new goals. And one of the things I learned is you can't do things you need a community of people.
Yeah.
You know, they hold you accountable. They give you ideas. It's mental. Like you need to be able to have that community of people.
So was that the point in which you realized? So you lost 50 pounds on your own, right?
Yep.
What were you doing to lose that weight?
Just calorie deficit. I was like, I wasn't like fasting, but I was just eating less. I think the stopping drinking,
Yeah.
that alone probably took 15 pounds, you know, within probably a couple of weeks.
Mm.
I was definitely accelerating. I mean, I lost 50 pounds in 7 months, right? So
Yeah,
that's
which is
pretty
fast.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm happy I was hitting that 1 pound per week thing, which is really good. I'm probably still kind of there a little bit. I'm still losing a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I lost that pretty quickly. I knew like if I didn't lose a little bit of weight, I wouldn't be able to sustain exercising because I was just always in pain, inflammation. One of the other things I did was fiber, like that book I told you about, like fiber.
Mm-hmm.
Eat fiber. Don't eat sugar. Eat fiber. Don't eat processed food. I just changed everything. I've been actually eating a very similar breakfast for about 2 years.
Mm.
I've changed it over that time because I've been learning how to put better food in my body. So yeah, I mean, I did a lot on my own. It's true. Like I lost that 50 pounds. I was still losing even when I met you.
Mm.
And, you know, by the time I joined up with nutrition, I remember I was like 238 or something like that when I started there.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Let's bring it back to
Yeah.
with the first time coming into the gym. So you were on this journey. You were losing weight on your own. You had already dropped 50 pounds. What was the thing that told you that you needed to come in and start a gym routine? What was that?
It was something I thought about 7 months ago. Like, I need to be able to be moving.
Okay.
You know, I actually wrote goals down on the plane that I just looked at the other day. It was like 2 years ago. And one of the things was I want to be able to walk around 2.5 miles. I want to walk 2 miles without feeling like I'm in pain.
And you walk 5 miles a day now.
Oh, I walk probably 2.5 because the weather's getting bad. But yeah, I'm still pushing that. But yeah, you're right. And I knew I had to move.
Okay.
And CrossFit, you know, definitely had kind of a bad name years ago. And we're like, oh my God, we're going to CrossFit. We were very intimidated when we walked in. So
Yeah. What drew you here?
again, I think it was just,
Was it a Google search?
I think it's like, I was going to call probably a couple of different places, but I think when I talked to you directly on the phone,
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to go see this guy. I don't
Yeah.
know what it was, but I could just tell. You know how you could tell? You can pick up on people. And then when we came and met you, there's no reason to look anywhere else. It was like, this guy is awesome.
Mm.
You know, and I don't know if you remember at the end of the hour and a half, you're like, so what do you think? I'm like, you had me at hello, you know, like could have just been 5 minutes. And I would seriously, I would have
gone home.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So All right, let's go into what were your perceptions of CrossFit before you came in and we had that chat. We'll get there.
I don't know. I think it's just more like hearsay. You just hear things. It's nothing specific. Like, they kind of do a lot of, weights and they're kind of crazy or whatever, right? And we walk in and we don't see any equipment, but we see weights. And then Pearl walks in. She's, like getting ready to do her competition coming up. And we're like, man, this is crazy. I'm like, we're going to do this. We're just going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
And, I did know a little bit CrossFit. I mean, just the name itself, like the cross-functional fitness, right? You're doing something different, right?
Yeah.
Which I appreciate. We've done weights before where it's all structured and they just leave you alone and stuff like that. But having the coaching part of it, was important too because it pushed us. And then we did the personal thing right away. That was our first thing. Because you got to be pushed in the beginning, in my opinion, right? For someone like me who sat around for 20 years,
100%.
Yeah, I got to have somebody tell me what to do, and I do like these trust falls with people. Yeah. And if you screw me, I'm gonna like go screw yourself. I'm never gonna talk to you again. I'm not gonna give you a 5-star review or whatever. But I don't know. I just knew that I don't care. It's CrossFit, and let's just give it a try and see what happens. Yeah. I'm always prepared to do something different. But
the name,
I haven't left.
the name gets a bad rap, and I try to tell people this. It's like what we do here at CrossFit Aries is what we do. It's very, very specific. We've developed the program that we do here and how we take care of our members. CrossFit is just what I've used, and I've found it to be the most beneficial in my life to get me fit for what happens outside of the gym. It has nothing to do with the sport of CrossFit or anything like that. Like what we deliver here is ours. And we just use this methodology that I have found to be the best bang for your buck. Yeah. And I continue to like it. And I think other people have fun with it. But as far as how we take care of people and how we continue on that journey to long-term health and wellness, like that's us, man. Like we've developed this thing that we've kept in-house that, it just works and it connects with people.
Yeah, you have the Coca-Cola recipe. I mean, when you described, again, at the time we met you about how, like, you got to put stuff up on the shelf, you got to pick things up, you got to get off the toilet. Yeah. Like, holy crap, like, everything applies. Yeah. Everything, and that's really important.
Now, let me ask you this. Before you started with us, what was your perception of fitness and exercise? Was it just, like, weight training and, like, this is what you do to look better or feel better? Did you have that functional idea behind it?
I needed to have structure, so I knew I was searching for a place, because the place I was looking at was like more like small groups of people that you're going to get that almost one-on-one or small group feel. I couldn't just go to like a Planet Fitness or something and try to figure it out on my own, because then I'd be right back on the couch.
Yeah, that's a problem that a lot of people have. It's mostly what I hear when people come in. All right, so 1.5-hour consultation. We went back and forth. We talked about everything from James Clear, Atomic Habits, to it was just an awesome conversation. And like that day we connected.
I'm really glad that you took and that's the other thing. Like, I don't know. You could have been running somewhere that maybe was not as important or was important, and you just freaking stopped for us. And I can't thank you enough for that. Honestly, you changed my life that day, because I knew, like, I'm going to be taken care of. Like
that makes me so
happy. Because if my plan would have been broken, if I couldn't find a freaking place to go, I'd be like, what am I going to do? Yeah. Like, I'm so happy. Like, you have no idea how lucky we are. I mean,
that's awesome.
You do, but I don't think maybe you can't fathom the depth of, I think, what you're doing for people. It's amazing.
I have this inherent desire to help anybody that's willing to walk through that door. Yeah. And, when someone sits down for 90 minutes with me and is willing to listen, I know that, I'm going to be able to help this person. We're going to dive in. And that it gets me jazzed up. It makes me really excited.
I'm trying to think, like, Debbie and I are like, what is CrossFit? And there's 3 things, and I'm leaving one out, right? One is like the structured exercise, like how you coach and everything. The other one is like the community. It isn't that, because you go to a gym, you're going to meet people, it's going to be cliquey. it's like you subtly encourage people to know everybody, and so what? People are going to be off in their own and talk. There's introverts, extroverts. I'm kind of an introvert, believe it or not. But like even Emily today, who just started, I walk up to her and I'm like, you know what, you did good today. I really suck at these things that you were doing today. She's like, really? I'm like, oh yeah, I couldn't do this stuff.
Yeah.
So I also kind of like giving back too. And I like the community part of it because everyone has a little piece that they can give and take, from you. I believe that, and I've met such good people. And Debbie and I were even talking like years ago, like we should probably like join a church or something. And I'm like, this is my church because it's community. It wasn't so much I had to be in a church or anything like that. It's just I wanted to meet people and not look at the four walls and watch TV all day long. So.
Yeah. I think as humans, we inherently we want to have that connection.
Yeah.
And it's weird in today's day and age because of social media and everything like that, where, if you push somebody just to say hello to somebody and say, hey, I've been where you're at before, or I'm still struggling. And then you make that connection because you know how difficult it is coming into day one here.
Yeah.
Especially your first class. Like, it's crazy. We're throwing terms at you and we're coaching and you feel like you're doing everything wrong. But when that one person comes up to you and they say, hey, good job today.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this today, because I tend to go deep sometimes. So one of Newton's laws is body in motion continues to stay in motion.
Mm-hmm.
So think of yourself as someone who's in motion. You could be on a plan. And you've got this other force that acts upon you, which can change your trajectory. Now, that trajectory could be small, but way out here, it's like millions of miles away from where you think you are. So you get that, too. When you meet different people, they can set you off on a different path, know, and it goes both ways. You can meet people in the hood, and you're just going down a dark path, and you're either going to get shot or something. So it's kind of goes both ways.
Yeah.
So you want to find people, obviously, that are good, and I really believe that people give more than they realize, and you pick up on it.
It's powerful, man. It is, for sure. All right, so 90-minute consultation. I had you at hello. We still continued to talk, and then I believe, how many months of private training did you do?
I think I did just the 30-day, the 4 weeks or something.
You started 4 weeks. I think Debbie.
It might have been, I can't remember, it might have been 8, but it was definitely at least 4. But yeah, go ahead, sorry. Yeah.
And Debbie stuck in the private training a little bit longer.
Yes.
And it was all with Coach Eric, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did a couple, but he definitely took over, and it was always that, yeah.
All right, so what was that experience like? Because that's been a big thing in, how people acclimate into this and make it something that's lifelong, because coming into a class where you don't know anybody and you don't know what you're doing is very intimidating. And that's kind of one of the things that CrossFit has, is that it's intimidating. People are reluctant to walk through that door. And that's what the onboarding is for, whether it's 2 days or it's 4 weeks or it's 3 months, like it's to break down those barriers and make sure that we're building something that's going to stick in your life. And it's not just going to be a 6-week shred to whatever. Like, I want you to be healthy when you're 90, 100 years old, and I want you to still be here. We're all going to look a little bit different, but it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that experience in those first 4 weeks before you jumped into class.
Yeah, because I want to talk a little bit how it leads into class. So, Eric really does a great job of pushing people. And I think he can search out your limits, and he knows better than you what your limits are. And I'm always like the kind that gives it all. So, and you can see Debbie, she's always trying to kind of keep up. I love her to death, but she always tries to keep up sometimes. But I always had that like crazy attitude, and he's good at like pushing you. And I'm kind of like, I want to please you, and Debbie is like double that. Like I showed you the picture of her. She used to shooting, and she's always like trying to improve and be better, and she doesn't want to ever fail. Like sometimes if you try to help her, she's like, like, leave me alone, I can figure it out.
Oh, I know.
So for us, it was great because, he pushed us, and it was important to push us because when you go into your first class, it's a lot, depending on which class you happen to step into. So he did prepare us pretty well, I think. Yeah. When you go in on your first day, it's scary. Like, I remember just bouncing around, being all nervous, and it was Kyle.
Yeah.
And I was just nervous as hell. And you know, Kyle is an intimidating person, but he was intimidating that day.
Yeah.
And he was very
Which is wild
yeah.
to think about.
Yeah.
Because he is the opposite of intimidating.
And I was intimidated not so much by him, but just like being there. I just kind of felt like, God, I'm going to hold the class up. I think that's what goes through our mind too. I'm going to hold everybody up, which is completely wrong.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that, knowing what you know now, because that is something that I hear a lot.
Yeah.
People are afraid to, and this is what breaks my heart a lot of the times, is people are reluctant to ask us the questions in class because they feel like they're going to disrupt or take away from somebody else. When the whole class is geared towards, we want you to ask those questions. We want you to grab us. And if it's not right now, like even I did tonight in class, I was like, hey, you know, if you have a question, we're going to go through this movement, and then we're going to have 5 minutes after to kind of get our barbells situated and do what we need to do. Like if you still have a question, ask me at that point when it's a little bit more free and I can spend some time.
Yeah.
Like we have those game plans in our head. It's not like you're disrupting us. We're planning for all of that stuff. So we want you to ask the questions, but it's a very common thing that I hear all the time is, oh, you know, I didn't want to ask because I didn't want to be trouble or I didn't want to be bothersome.
Yeah, and you know, people don't like asking questions. Yeah. And there's always the one person that asks all the time. But that people already have that same question. It is definitely a hump even for Debbie and I to get over. Like we had to realize like there's two things. One is like ask questions because you guys look like you're managing 16 people.
Yeah.
You're kind of, you can handle it though, and maybe that we just don't pick up on that, so we don't want to like pull you away. Yeah. And I just forgot the other thing that I was going to say, but it's oh, I know what it was. So there's that, and then the other thing is like who cares? It's not on the board. Do something different, you know, and you help us define that over time. Over time, you kind of can figure out. I'm just going to do this. John will be fine with it, or Nick or anybody. Yeah. So those are the two big things. It's like probably not pulling you away because they're maybe afraid that you're managing all these people, and then the other one is like try to figure out what it is you want to do. So I don't know how you prepare for that unless maybe you prepare for the week and you're thinking about what are all the exercises, what should I do? Maybe I should talk to you beforehand. Yeah. Because it took me a couple of sessions with you for you to pull that out of me. Yeah. To be able to talk, to ask questions.
You're going to learn, and I don't think people necessarily need to look beforehand, but I always tell people just be vulnerable when you come in here. Be ready to learn. Be ready to do something a little bit different, and just, rely on us to give you that direction. Yeah. Because I think one of the bigger misconceptions is that you have to come in here and you have to do what's on the board. And it's like, if you saw my workouts every single day, the way that I stay consistent is not that. Yeah. No way. I listen to my body and see how it's feeling, especially, if it's an off week or the weather's changing or something's going on. Like, I have to do what I need to do to make sure that I feel good so that I can continue doing this tomorrow, and then do that all the time, week after week, month after month, year after year, because I know that's what's going to help me out later on down the line. Yeah. And, that's where the misconception of CrossFit as a sport to CrossFit utilized as a methodology to, be a better version of yourself. The sport aspect of it is like, oh, I need to come in and I need to get better at this today. I need to get better at this today, or I need to get this new movement. Screw that. It's like, what are we going to do to feel good today, even if we have to modify that movement and change it? And sure, over time, you're going to start to get this stuff and you're going to become more functional. And when you do the long route to that, now all of a sudden, it translates way more outside of the gym because you took the time to learn to do it the right way. And it's going to compound to your functionality outside. Yep. So, that's the type of gym that I really wanted to develop and bring to people, is that, CrossFit is constantly varied functional movements at high intensity. Nowhere in that definition is what's written on the whiteboard every day, the specific movements. Yeah. Like any variation of that, any combination of that is still doing CrossFit. So don't feel like you need to do that. And, when you start to shed those layers down and you start to become vulnerable and accept that and utilize the coaching, that's when you start to feel really good and you can continue doing this for a very long time. Yeah. That's what I hope everybody understands. And it sounds like it took you a little bit.
It's definitely it's a bit overwhelming. Like you're trying to understand what's going on, and what did you just say? I don't understand that movement. What the heck's a snatch? Like I don't know that stuff.
Now looking back on it, Do you feel like you didn't need to be so adamant on learning that stuff, like knowing how we coach now and having been here a year?
Yeah,
Like, could it just
absolutely.
flowed through it a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, and probably what helps me in a bittersweet way is I injured my knee like a
Yeah.
month later when I was running that one time because I was not running properly, and you guys helped me through doing completely something, not completely different, but different enough where I was not doing the same as everyone else, but you tried to hit that muscle group that you were trying to hit that day.
Yeah. And we messed
So,
around with your running form too.
well, and I was, again, I'm the kind of person, I'll ask the stupid questions. I don't care. I remember coming to you going, I got a stupid question for him. And I said, how do you run? Like, what kind of question is that?
It's a legitimate one.
You were like, this is how you run. And I'm like, oh, this is great. So, like, there's no question that's stupid. And it also resonates me with that virtuosity thing that, like, everybody runs, but, like,
Yeah.
you can really teach how to run.
Yeah.
And I'm actually listening to what you're saying with the running. I'm a better runner for it.
Yeah. And like, now where are you with running? Like, you can do it without having that pain in your knee, but a lot of people look at something like running as so basic, and you can compare that to the air squat, you can compare it to a box jump, anything that you do in here. Like, oh, I can do that, but you don't understand the form and mechanics of it to make sure that your body's doing what it needs to do so that it's resilient through that movement.
I was excited. I mean, so I'm past the point of like trying to learn to move. Now I'm trying to actually I want to eventually be RX. So that's a different level than coming in new. But yesterday was awesome. I felt great. I ran like 3 minutes 30 seconds for the 800.
That's awesome, man.
And I was like the last one. I was the only one in the gym doing wall walks because I wanted to do the RX-ish kind.
Yeah.
I was about 2 inches away. I looked around like, wow, I'm the only one. So I ran out behind everybody, and I passed a bunch of people. And on the way back, I was like, wow, this is great. I feel great. I can't believe I'm running.
That's awesome.
I mean, Jesus, it's crazy.
A year later, a little over a year later.
I know. I mean, I can't. I don't want to stop. I got to set new goals. Like I'm still motivated to be better.
Yeah.
Like I was, in a way, I want to keep thinking that I'm that guy on the couch, but not in a way that like maybe I might have described it in the past. I want to keep thinking that I'm always going to keep improving. There's so many things that's running through my head. Like, how am I going to improve now?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remotivate.
Yeah.
And and the thing about motivation, just I'm sidetracking, but motivation versus discipline, like, they're so different to one another. Like, you could be motivated, and that's what I was. Like, I got to lose weight. But at some point, like, your discipline has to take over.
Yeah.
And I love the saying of, like, I didn't feel like running today, so I went for a run. I love that stuff, like, because I'm like, that's exactly what you need to do. So,
yeah. And I want to get into that because that's the whole reason that I wanted to, start this segment of the podcast is to tell your amazing story and have you talk about your experiences and, everything that you've learned for yourself and how you're utilizing this in your life so that other people can hear it and, at first be motivated, but then feel comfort in the fact that they can also be disciplined and continue doing this even when they don't feel like it.
Yeah.
And, the whole first part of this was kind of going through your journey in the gym and like step by step. But now I want you to kind of like talk to the people. Like, having gone through this journey and this experience that you've had going from 300 pounds, not being able to walk up a hill, to now running and passing people and feeling the best that you've ever had, even from exercise to nutrition to, to like 15% body fat or something.
Yeah. It's friggin' amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's like, talk to the people. That's what the story that I want to tell now. So, what is it? Like, what do you have to say to them? What is about your journey?
So I think it's there's times it's unfortunate, right? I think people have to kind of hit bottom, and that's a dangerous thing to do because when you're hitting bottom when related to nutrition and exercise, how many steps are you away from like getting a heart attack or stroke or something? Like I was damn near close to diabetes. I mean, I probably even had it. The doctors, weren't telling me enough information. But so
What was your bottom? Was it the day on the hill?
I think it's like the straw on the camel's back, right? That was definitely one of them.
What was the emotion that went with that?
I was embarrassed, for one.
Yeah.
Because I was breathing heavy. Like, we do these 5-minute sprint workouts. That's how I felt like I was breathing that day. That's crazy. Like, you know, and it was like, I got to do this. And it's, the thing is, like, it isn't always just a moment. That's the thing. It's a build up to it, right? It's like I said, it's the straws. Like I've been talking about it, been thinking about it. Sometimes the stars align. If it wasn't for the trip, maybe I wouldn't have done it that day when I was sitting at the bar. But I knew I had to do it. I don't know. It's really a tough question to answer, but I absolutely was hitting bottom. And I think I didn't hit bottom. I think I grazed it. I knew, like, there was a couple of layers below that, like, I better freaking do something. Like, holy crap, like, put on the brakes or something.
You saw the final drop before it happened.
Like, I could feel it, see it coming. It's crazy. But how dangerous is that? Why do you have to go? Like, I've talked to you before. Like, why does that have to happen? Like, why do you have to be at that point? Sometimes, like, it just has to be, you know?
And having been at that point, what got you there, I guess? Like, what are most people struggling with right now that you can shed some light on?
I mean, you know, it's interesting you're asking me that, because you can think about different psychologies, I guess, of it. Some of the books you've told me to read, but, like, it's easy to kind of think about how you were brought up, or, you know, you can blame others for things. And I think it's okay to do that, because you're trying to recognize and reconcile, like, where you've been. I mean, you know, my mom passed away 2011, and I do remember, I think, reaching out to a few people, and I think I've started drinking more at that point, because my mom was like, we were really close. Like, she was like my best friend. My upbringing was definitely a bit rough, you know, and there are even times that, you know, I couldn't stand both parents, but I think at some point my mom and I somehow, like, we forgave each other or something, and we just became really good friends. We talked all the time. I think losing her was probably one of the most devastating things for me. Yeah, wow. Definitely. Yeah, maybe that's it. I mean, I hate to kind of point and blame in a way, but I think that's it. My family, you know, both my parents were heavy. My one sister was heavy. All three are gone. And my other sister, I don't talk to. So definitely haven't talked to her in quite a while. So we definitely had that kind of life growing up. We used to say, you know, we're not going to be like our parents. And I was always a thin, frail little kid. And then one day I woke up, I'm like, holy shit, I'm fat. I also used to work in the grocery business, so I was always fit, like running around the store. I went back to school back in like 97, went seriously in 97, got a 4-year degree. And I remember I used to be in the library, and your brain, like, when you're working it, you just got to throw food in there. So I would sit and eat, learn, you know, and I was definitely getting heavier there. So once I left, like, fast-moving pace grocery business, I was getting heavy.
And when you're not thinking about what you know now, it's easy to fall into that downward spiral and continue it until you get close to rock bottom. And you're like, how did I get here?
And I tell you, like, my whole life, like, I'd say right up through, let's say, high school, I was somewhat active. I wasn't into sports, but I would do intramural and pick up games and stuff like that. But I never had that mindset of sports. I am so much more, like, you know, into the sport of this than anything I've ever done in my life. So I don't know how the hell that happened. I'll blame that on you, I guess, which is a good blame.
I'll take it.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, again, it's easy to kind of think about how you were brought up and all these things, but at some time you just got to, like, just shut all that out and just take responsibility and just freaking do something about it and just stop blaming and stop looking backwards, you know?
And that's awesome. That's gonna hit home for a lot of people. Now, what does your routine look like now? Like, tell me about the stuff that you've learned here, and, you know, things that when you started you might have reconsidered and learned something different, or you thought that it was right and then you kind of shifted your perspective. And everything. What does this journey look like for you since starting here, and what's come out of it?
So when you're kind of on a health journey, right? You don't know anything in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, so I did what I thought I had to do. A lot of the things I did were easy that anybody would have told me. Stop drinking, stop eating sugar, processed foods, all that stuff. Even calorie deficit is going to help you lose weight, but it'll help you lose muscle too, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I felt good about doing that. And then I went and exercised. I think once we one of the things you mention this all the time, like nutrition's like 80% of it. And I actually calculated all the hours in a week of what do I do during the week, like sleep and work, and from a calculated perspective, I spend 20 hours a week on food, right? Roughly calculate. If you think about like shopping for it, planning, preparing meals, eating it, 20 hours. I spend 5 hours in the gym.
Yeah.
I come here 5 days a week. 5 hours is a lot, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
But it's not really a lot. It's a 4-to-1. So when you said nutrition is 80%, it sunk in the other day as I was calculating how many hours do I spend on food.
Yeah.
And I think about food in a very different way today. I think about, I'm eating this food. What else can I eat differently to get these macronutrients and like I'm starting to learn like free radicals and polyphenols and antioxidants and all this crap lately, and it's just blowing my mind. So, but I spend my day, I will, Debbie makes fun of me because I'm always looking at my FitnessPal. I'm planning out my meals for the day. We were even talking about this today. She goes, I can't do that. Like, I don't know how you do that all the time. I'm like, you know what? I never find myself staring at the refrigerator anymore because I know what I'm going to eat for the day.
Yeah.
So I'm very structured that way. Not everybody's going to do that. So I wouldn't say do that. So I spend a lot of time doing that. I make sure I'm hitting my numbers. And, you know, one of the things Kristen told me before I started nutrition, she's like, you're only eating 90 grams of protein. I was like 240 at the time. She's like, you need a lot more. So I started eating it. I'm like, oh my God. I was at 160. I'm like, this is just too much protein.
Yeah.
I'm at like 240 now.
Yeah.
And I'm always eating. Like I eat 4 or 5 times a day. Easy.
Which is it's crazy to some people to hear because they think eating less is going to get them the desired results that they want. But like you're eating more than you've ever eaten before, just the right stuff.
Yeah.
And look at the results that you've had. Yeah,
I drink somewhere like nobody can tell you how much water to drink, right? It's a very complex equation to figure out, but roughly it's for every 2 pounds it's 1 ounce of water, right? So I drink a gallon of water a day, about a gallon a day, just under.
Yeah.
And I definitely see the difference. My veins are really popping out a lot. And even, I went to see your wife who was looking at my eyes. She goes, your blood vessels look really good in your eyes. I'm like, probably because I'm eating better and I'm drinking a lot of water.
Yeah.
So hydration, I don't care. Like, you got to force water in your body.
Yeah.
And we get Poland Spring water all the time, and we force it in. I buy like 9 gallons a week every week. So, because she drinks it too. And then we bring a bottle here. Like I have a quart of water, and I don't care if it's sitting around all day or not, because I could just drink, because I know, like I'm very regimented. Like I know what I have to do. It's very structured.
Yeah.
Not everybody's like that. Don't get me wrong, but like I know I got to put this many calories in my body, or really the macros.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a big thing too, because we're very similar in that way. Like I like structure. I like it to be the same. I know I find comfort in making sure that I control what I control, and everything else, if I can't control it, that's fine. I'll let it go, but I can control everything that I can. And we're very similar in that aspect, but not everybody is. And I think that's an important thing to harp on, that, not everybody's going to be looking at MyFitnessPal all day long and making sure everything is dialed in. Not everybody's going to be spending 20 hours, but what we can take out of this is the key concepts of that it is important, and that's a non-negotiable, is that you need to focus on these things to get the health that you're after. This is kind of what it takes, and it looks very different for other people, but at the same time it also looks the same, because when you get to somebody's level that sees the type of results that you've seen, like there's big changes that happen there, and there's big focus shifts, and you start doing the thing very, very well, to a point where I'm sure it's a lot easier to go through your nutrition on a daily basis than it was when you first started.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's almost on autopilot at this point. And, it's probably just the way that you eat every day.
Oh, yeah. I eat 4 eggs a day. I'm eating so much food and stuff that, like, people said you shouldn't really eat. I'm eating eggs and steak and, But now let me ask you this. Like, if you didn't have MyFitnessPal one day, right?
all other circumstances the same. You're at home, you're coming to the gym, but your phone got tossed in the pool, right? Would you be able to get pretty damn close to what you do every day?
I'd probably curl up in a corner and die.
I
No,
know
I'm
you
kidding.
would.
I'm kidding.
But would you?
I think I could. Yeah, because what's good about that is I eat kind of like the same stuff every day, so I kind of know what to eat without even looking at it.
Yeah.
I like to hit the number exactly, right?
Of course. And
but
that's
you're
where
right.
it comes down to the app.
But you don't have to hit it exactly, which is what we're getting to. I get it.
Right.
Like, we went home over the weekend, and I had to do my best to try to get stuff. I actually making new salad now. I'm changing that up, so I was able to get those things and have a salad one of the nights.
Mm.
But there's definitely food around that, like, I'm going to eat that's, you call it bad food, but you're treating yourself, like you always say.
Yeah.
But I know what to stay away from. I know about how much protein I need. Like, I need to have so much. Yeah, I can definitely do it.
Yeah.
As long as I got my yogurts, because I eat those things like crazy.
I know. I turned you on to that.
Oh yeah, those things are. I eat like 4 to 6 a day.
Oh, man.
Because I get 15 grams of protein in each. So yeah.
And it's not like you don't enjoy the food that you eat, right?
I think it's one of the most critical things is taste. Now my breakfast is really interesting.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to make it a little bit sweeter, so I bought some dates today to make it sweeter. But it's a funny breakfast. Nobody makes what I make.
Hey, we all got our things.
It's hilarious.
I got my shake because it's easy, but easy works for me in the morning because I wake up, I do my normal thing. I have my coffee, I get ready for the day, and then I'm on the go. And my shake just works for me.
So there is one really critical thing about nutrition, though, is I work from home, and I also, we don't really have we don't go away a lot. So we kind of I'm always prepping on the weekend. We shop and then we prep. And then I make 2 batches of chicken marsala, and I make pancakes that I've been doing and stuff.
Yeah.
So I would find it difficult that if I had to go into the office, it would be a lot harder. I would have to spend a lot more time prepping and preparing and getting it into bins and stuff. And that's a lot of work on somebody to have that. Now I had kids. I don't have kids to that. So someone who doesn't have that ability to spend time on it, and then you got to go shopping, and we go to 2 different stores, and it's a lot of stress on someone. I mean, that's a lot to expect someone to do. So it's just easier to get fast food or go out that night or whatever. I mean, we're down to the point where we're not really going out anymore. We do this ritual every Saturday or Sunday morning. We go to this breakfast place, but we're to the point now where we don't really go out.
Yeah.
But not everybody can do that, and that's for me. That's I really feel for those people who don't have that. So I appreciate that you do those meals, whatever. So stuff like that, that helps a lot. But that's a struggle for people, I would think.
It's definitely tough, and I've been in both lives of it, right? I, have my life now where my lunch is a Nutri-Meal because that's easy for us.
Yeah,
it's simple. I have the ones that I order, and I know what it's going to be, and it just allows me to stay on track a little bit better. My breakfast is the same. It's simple. It's prepared in 5 minutes, and then we have 5 different dinners or 6 different dinners that we cycle at night.
Yeah.
Whatever we're feeling, and then when we start to go outside of that, we treat ourselves and whatever it is, but it's still in line with normally what I have, and I'll still track it. But before I owned the gym, I was commuting into Boston. I would have to leave the house at 5:30 in the morning, be at site by 6:30. I was there from 6:30 all the way until 5:30, 6 at night if nothing was going on, and then I was coming to the gym after, and I was coaching and I was working out. I've lived both lives.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to come over and tell me, I don't get it, I do. Trust me, I get it.
Yeah.
And, it took iterations because what I did back then is not what I do now. And what I did back then looked a little bit different, every time that I tried to get a little bit better at it. But none of that would have happened if I didn't work on it and I didn't make it a priority of mine.
Yeah.
Because there was no question that I was going to take care of myself and make sure I was trying to eat the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And, it started off with, a good thing was we would just make extra at dinner the night before and then put it into bins, and it was easy.
Yeah.
We tried the meal prepping thing. We weren't good at it because we would go out on Sunday and, when we come back, nobody wants to meal prep. It works for some people. It didn't work for me.
Yeah.
The point that I'm getting at is there's a number of different ways and things that you can do to have it work for you, as long as you're staying along the lines of the basic principles, which you start to learn as long as you dive into it.
Yeah, it's a good point. I wonder where I'll be like in 2 years, because will I really be so focused on MyFitnessPal? I think because the important thing for me is I have to get to a certain weight and then maintain it. Now, it would be actually better at some point that I'm not really looking at it.
Yeah.
That I'm trying to just figure it out, on the fly in a way. But, obviously I'm planning, and I always bring a shopping list. We're always going to do that. But, try to do that. And I'm also, for Debbie's sake, I do try to introduce different foods, because she's like, you eat the same crap every day. I can't do that. Come on, do something different. I'm like I always think about the Spartans. They used to eat this pig slop soup that just was. I'm like, Debbie, I said, I just got to feed the body. I don't really care what I put in there.
Yeah.
It's just got to be stuff that goes in.
Yeah.
That's selfish in a way, So
Yeah.
I'm trying to be better at that, opening up things.
And I think that you are still early on this journey.
Yeah.
It's been a year, and
Yeah.
you've seen a lot of success, and you're doing very well. But it's going to go through a couple more iterations, like it always does.
Yeah.
But that's a good segue, what you said, into one other thing that I wanted to talk about that I see as one of the biggest factors of success is having support from your significant other.
Oh.
And I know you two
The
are
shit she puts up with, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah, you're
Jesus
crazy. We know
Christ.
that. And God bless her.
I mean, because of people like you, she has someone to talk to. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
And she, she sees that because we're very regimented. We're the same kind of person, right?
Yeah.
And then I look at Debbie and I look at Courtney, and Courtney is always seriously, we want to eat that again? She's the same way. But at the same time, it's a priority for her. So, she'll start to look at different things, and we'll work together and we'll figure out different meals. But, it's not the end of the world if we don't eat exactly and hit the numbers every single day. And I feel that you'll get to that point eventually.
Yeah.
But having the support of your significant other in the relationship, because I've seen it happen and I continue to see it happen. And it's someone goes to make a change for themselves for the better. They want to be a better version of themselves. And, maybe they don't have the support of their significant other, or, they're just not seeing what they're doing or whatever it is. Or maybe the significant other has some bad habits that, they're pulling them back into, that's deteriorating their success going forward.
Yeah.
And it's important. And, I think if somebody does go on that journey, you don't have to have your significant other go on it with you. It's a very individual journey. But, it is worth a conversation. Say, hey, this is really important to me. And I'm going to start to make some changes in my life. And, I would like your support. You don't have to do what I'm doing. It's totally cool. But, I want to do this for me. And just having that conversation is super important. And, Debbie supports you through and through.
Amazing.
As crazy as she gets with you sometimes with your Excel sheets and everything like that. And the regimented food. But she supports it. And she's here just as much as you are, going on her journey. And I think that's amazing.
It is amazing. I mean, she says she follows me, but she has her own voice, and she does things, and she probably doesn't realize. It's you talk about support, because in the beginning she was afraid to bring certain food. Not afraid, but she would avoid probably bringing certain foods into the house.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what it is, Deb. You can have a 6-pack of donuts, and eat them all in front of me. It won't bother me. So please, we talk a lot. We get through things by talking. We shut the TV off, and we just shut everything down, and we have conversations. Yeah. And sometimes we have, elevated conversations, because we might even be agreeing so much with each other, but we're I'm at throats probably more than she is, obviously, but because I'm crazy, but
passionate. Passionate is the word.
And she's trying to. I want her to find her way a little bit, but she definitely appreciates all the things that I'm doing. With the new type of salad that we're eating, she's interested in that now. I want to start making my own salad dressing, so she's interested in that. So yeah, she's loving it because she's kind of taking a ride with me.
Yeah.
So and she's amazing in the support side of things. It's just
Yeah.
the shit she puts up with. It's
Yeah.
just crazy.
I mean, you're both on your own journey,
Yeah.
and those paths are going to look very different. But at the same time, there comes a point where you can both help each other through that with the support.
Yeah.
And understand she's where she's at, you're where you're at. And, you guys have done that very well. And, I know that because she comes in for her goal reviews, you come in for yours. It's very separate. You guys aren't afraid to ask questions, and it's cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very important aspect that I think people miss a lot of the times. Awesome.
Yeah. You talk about goal reviews, and the last time I think I was getting ready to meet with you, I'm like, he sees me all the time, and he's probably always so busy. And I'm like, you know what? No, he loves this stuff. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that you actually will take the time to do that.
It's important to
Yeah.
just sit down and talk about that stuff and, see
matter
where
what
you're
it is.
thinking. Yeah, where you're going. And it could
Yeah.
just be, 15 minutes, shoot back and forth. Everything
Yeah.
could be going good, but it's a check-in. And that's where the human-to-human aspect comes into it. It's like, I want to make sure that, you're good and you're not trying to solve these problems on your own, where I can help you out a little bit. Because, with the experience that I've had with myself and helping other people. So I want to kind of last piece of this,
Yeah.
and everything that you've experienced, everything that you've learned on your journey, this whole thing, understanding that not everybody's going to do things the way that you've done them, but understanding the importance of it. So this is going to be two pieces. First of all, why are you doing the things that you're doing? Why are you making these changes? What is your motivation every single day behind that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like audio. It's like outlive, right? It's being able to live the long part isn't as important as the healthy part all the way through. Like
Yeah.
I was just telling Deb the other day, I said, I want to be able to, go to the bathroom in myself. I'll be able to walk around, nobody helping me until I actually just drop dead one day because I'm done. I know it's brutal for me to say it, but that's how I say things. And I can't, I can only imagine I was going to end up in a home or something, when I was sitting on the couch waiting to die. So it's just, that's important to me. Yeah.
Cool. And that's powerful. And with everything that you've learned on this journey, what are the top 3 things or pieces of advice that you could give to somebody that's either just starting or they're struggling along this journey, or they just can't seem to make it meet or see the light behind it or understand it?
Ooh, geez. Top 3 things. I mean, I don't know. It's like you have to, I don't know, rephrase that question again.
Yeah, let's break it down even further. So
Yeah.
what would be the biggest piece but simplest piece of advice that you could give somebody on nutrition with everything that you've learned and that you've done for yourself? Somebody that's trying to get into that and make some changes in their habits.
I would say drink water. Like that's the most important thing. You have to drink water. I mean, it's crazy. I'm going to say this, but my mom, like days before she passed away, she's like, you got to drink water. And it just stuck with me, but it was like, I always knew it was a good thing. And I think just go for the low-hanging fruit, which is what I did, right? I stopped drinking. You don't have to stop drinking, but you got to figure out either you have a problem. To be honest with you, I don't think I had a problem because I'm not like addicted to alcohol. Like I was able to stop it, but stop drinking if you can. Sugar and processed foods, stay away from it. At all costs. That doesn't mean you can't have it, but figure out a way to keep substituting it with something that's more natural. Like read labels. I'm probably one of the few people in the store reading a label, and I look around and people are probably like, what the hell is this guy doing? I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Look for the low ingredient list of stuff, even like the protein I bought. Like I used to buy the Jocko stuff, which has like 10 ingredients. Now I buy protein. It says protein. That's it. So yeah, stay away from processed food, sugars, drink water. and minimize alcohol consumption. I think just those things alone, I think, is pretty much what I did.
Yeah.
And eat fiber. Eat freaking fiber, because one of the things that I recognized when I really elevated my fiber, I was sore in every joint of my body just moving around. I don't have that anymore, and I owe that to fiber. There's this whole organism system in your body that, like, if you feed it properly.
Yeah, that's a piece of education that people don't hear at all.
Eat freaking fiber, drink water, stop eating processed shit and sugar.
Yeah. Simple, low-hanging fruit.
Minimize drinking. Yeah, it is low-hanging fruit, and you would see a difference. I actually, it's interesting. There's a guy who lives in Chicago, because we're all remote at our jobs, and I told him like what I was doing. He was very interested, and I said pretty much all that stuff, and I told him my fitness pal, and he did that too, and he wrote me back in a month. He says, I feel freaking great. He goes, everything we talked about, like I feel great. It's amazing. Not that he said, he didn't say anything about losing weight, which I think he did. He just says, I feel so much better right now.
Yeah.
And I basically said that to him.
I think that's a piece that a lot of people miss.
And diary. Document what you're doing. Just a couple of things.
Yeah.
Even if you keep it up here, sometimes it's better written down. But go ahead. I'm sorry. But yeah.
No, you're good. I think it's, people come in here, the superficial stuff is like, I want to lose weight, and they think that's going to solve all their problems. And, it's great when it happens, and, it's something that you wanted for yourself. But truly what we're after, and what you soon realize, and what I want you to realize, is that you don't know how good you can feel until you feel good. And when you start to take some of these low-hanging fruits into consideration and start doing them, and you start to feel good, and it's not a lot to move the needle, and you understand that, aesthetics aside, body composition aside, it's a different road. Your body is a very highly technical, powerful thing that, when it feels good, is really cool.
And it recovers. It's amazing how quickly it just, my friend,
Yeah, and you see what you're capable of, and all of a sudden you have this new appreciation, rather than being down on yourself for, not looking a certain way because society had to tell you that you need to look a certain way, and you start to see what your body can do, and then you get that appreciation. And I think that is number one. Once you get that appreciation and you understand what your body can do, and you start to get fascinated by that, then everything else will start to fall into suit, where, you start to restructure body composition. You start to dive a little bit more into nutrition, because you go down the rabbit hole of, how good can my body feel? And when you take that route, you start to get into a whole different mindset about this whole thing.
Yeah.
Because when you feel good, inherently you're going to start to change your body composition, and everything's going to start to fall into suit. And it might not look like that in the beginning in your mind, but that's everything that you ever wanted. And you're going to be so happy once you get there.
I think, because, again, I lost weight back in 2010. We did this diet for like 6 months or something. We both lost weight. I lost 50 pounds. I felt great. So when I was 45 years old, I lost weight, and I felt freaking fantastic, right? As you get older, it gets harder. I'm not trying to blame, but, I'm 60 now. There's things that, like, even though I've lost a lot of the weight, I still have back pain and stuff. I still have, like, these aches and pains because, like, my body is a little bit more worn. Yeah. I'm not letting that stop me, but, like, it's so much easier when you're younger. So if you got someone who's, like, heavy and wants to change, and he's 35 years old, that person will be like a freaking rocket in no time. And I always, if you want to, like, oh God, things I wish I could have done, I wish I did it earlier, but it's not earlier. It is today. I'm figuring it out. But yeah, if you can figure that out early, like a lot of the people here, they're young, most of the people that I'm with anyway are young. Everybody's freaking younger than me anymore, but it's funny, but I don't think about it too much. So yeah, losing that weight is a critical thing, but like, you've taught me this, like, you don't lose weight from working out. You lose weight through your nutrition. Like, it's the low-hanging fruit that we just talked about.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And not only that, that's a repercussion of, having a healthier diet. What that's really doing is, preventing any type of these metabolic diseases that people don't even realize are causes of eating like crap. for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's like, you get that in check first, like, yeah, you'll lose weight. It's a product of what happens.
Yeah.
But like, the reason why you're doing it is to make sure that you stay healthy and you don't have to unnecessarily, admit yourself to a hospital because you got something going on or something unexpected happens.
I brought a friend last week. She does Ironman competitions, and she's like, I look up to her. I'm like, you're a freaking big time athlete, and she was struggling with some of the movements. I'm like, holy shit! Like CrossFit is really, it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. Nobody in here realizes that they're the top 5%.
Oh my God, it's like, I mean, I felt like so good about myself.
Yeah,
you're
in an echo chamber in here because you're around other people that are taking care of themselves and they're fit.
Yeah,
but like, I would say this all the time, and some people will laugh at me, whatever it might be, but I will take any person that comes to this gym on a regular basis, and I'll put them up against anybody in the world. Anybody. It doesn't matter.
For stamina and all that. Yeah,
and
I mean, it's just...
through a whole range of different things, that person is going to be fitter and more functional than 95% of the world that's out there. And whether you want to believe it or not, it's true. And I will say that every single day with confidence that is true.
Yeah, you sold me. Yeah.
All right. One more thing.
Yeah.
Simplest.
I keep pulling you away, so
no, it's
we
cool.
could do this forever.
Simplest, easiest, most important piece of advice that you give somebody in terms of fitness and exercise if they want to make a change in their life.
I think absolutely. I mean, if I'm specific to what we do here, because there's a ton of movements, I think it's learning the movements properly and just doing them right. And if you're not, if it's like the weights and stuff, if it's too heavy, scale back, like snatches. I had problems for snatches forever. I was doing 35 pounds. Today I was able to do 100 pounds over my head, and I had pain in my shoulder and everything. But, it's just like, I think you can get discouraged if you go too hard too fast.
Yeah.
Like, what are your goals? Are you trying to build muscle up? You can't do it overnight. So just learn the movements.
Yeah. That's important. I was going to get to the why, and that's it right there. It's like, what are you here for? What are your goals? And like, you can look at it and it's cool to PR and it's awesome and it's going to come with time, but you can never forget your why as to why you're here.
And the other thing is, like, it's you against you. It really is. Like, where are you? What's your goals? Where do you want to be tomorrow? What's your next set of goals? Where do you want to be the next time? Because if you start looking at, like, the Haleys and Ashleys and all those, like, you're going to be discouraged so quickly. Ryan, like, I look up to those people because I'm like, man, I want to try to be that. But I'm kind of I understand it a lot more to look at them and say, I would love to be able to do what they do, rather than, God, look at what they do. I'm not going to fit in. I'm just going to leave or something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important because both of you or all of you are doing the same thing. And that is getting a little bit better each day.
Yep.
And that's what matters. And it's like, it's cool to look at somebody that, can do a movement that you're still working on. And it's like, wow, that's pretty awesome. I'd like to do that someday.
Yeah.
That's a great mindset rather than like, oh, that's just them. Must be nice. I scaled today.
Yeah. I'm an idiot for scaling.
Dude, I scale every day. Very rarely do I do a workout RX.
I know you do, yeah.
It's unnecessary. And I know I'm going to get a better workout out of it because I'm going to move better, I'm going to move faster, and I'm going to feel better at the end of that workout so I can work out tomorrow.
Yep.
That's where working out lifelong lies.
Yeah.
And
again, if you're not doing the movement right, like Nick came over to me, I was doing wall walks. I wanted to do them all, and he came over, your legs aren't. I'm like, all right, I gotta fix that because it's not a rep unless I do it right. Now, I'm a little bit, I think, a better level now than I was. But again, learn the freaking movement, do it right. You're going to hurt yourself if you don't.
Yeah. Listen to your coaches. That's what we're here for. And when we give you a cue and tell you to change something, don't ignore it. Like, we're doing it for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, just listen to us. Even if you feel like you're dialing it back a little bit, like, it's for a very good reason.
Yeah, I mean, you and I can sit here and talk as friends or whatever, but when I'm in that environment, you're my coach, and I'm just gonna, I'm like, you're gonna tell me what to do. I'm gonna listen, and you're doing it because you care.
Yeah,
So,
last one, lifestyle. Simplest piece of advice to somebody from a lifestyle perspective?
Oh, God. I am kind of a boring person, so my lifestyle isn't as exciting as other people. But lifestyle, God, I mean, I I like to learn, I guess, right? I'm always trying to learn. Like now I'm studying about food and everything, but I like to kind of fix things. I do stuff around the house. I've built decks. I built my shed. I redid my kitchen. I redid both bathrooms. But I think the core part of all of that is like being able to do it yourself. And I couldn't do that stuff if I was heavy and exhausted. I mean, there were things I would do at home. Like I dabbled in woodworking and stuff too. And it's hard to do it when you're heavy and breathing heavy and you're just like you just don't want to do it. Your back hurts, you're sore, like I can't do that. So the fitness part of it allows you to pursue those things. Like learning, like your brain needs to get nutrition just as much as the rest of the body. So being able to learn and be able to do things physically too. Like I want to build that stuff.
I'm sure that gives you a piece of fulfillment in your life.
Yeah, it does. It really does, be able to kind of do things again, you know.
That's awesome. All right, before we wrap it up, what do you got to say to the people? One final statement, one final piece of advice.
Oh, God.
One final thing to leave everybody with. We've been at it for an hour and 6 minutes.
I know. It's like another...
We didn't want to put a timestamp on this one because we were going to get into chatting.
I know. So, oh, God. You're always putting me on the spot here. Advice.
You were going to come do a podcast. What do you think I'm going to do?
I know, exactly. What kind of advice can I give people?
And, take your time because, I think you've experienced everything. And, granted, your journey was different than somebody else's, but, we're all on the same journey. And it's like somebody could relate to what you did or one little thing that you say that could make a huge difference. Some people may say, I'm not going to do it that way, and that's totally fine. But, there's somebody that could listen to this that could take one little piece from you, and it could change their life.
I think you've already touched upon it. Like, you absolutely have to ask questions and not be afraid to talk about. I think it's even be a little bit personal to say there's certain things that I'm dealing with it. It's really hard for me to do a certain thing or whatever. But ask questions and try to not be afraid of just opening your mouth and asking questions. And the other thing is really I really appreciate the high five thing that you do. Just say hi to people as they walk by. It's amazing what a little hi does for people.
Yeah.
It really helps someone's day. You don't know, that person could be having the worst freaking day in his or her life, and some goofy ass like me walks by and goes, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah.
And then maybe you forget about it for a minute. So just be nice to people, respect them. You don't know what they're going through, I guess.
No, you don't. And any opportunity that you have to, just be nice to someone and genuine, because I feel like it's few and far between, outside of a place like this.
One of the things I thought about, is we all, have a million different stories. Everyone's got their own story of how they get where they got. My story is unique compared to anybody else, right? But, we're all, on the same journey up and out to be a better person, which is kind of mind-blowing to me that we're all coming in and we're all coming back out as just one focal point going back up. Now, we all could take different journeys out. I get that. But, we're all trying to... There's a reason why we're here, and we're all, it's almost a similar thing. That's why we get along. We can talk about whatever we're doing here that you couldn't talk to somebody else about that would understand. So.
If I said to you about this place and what we do, it's more than fitness, how would you respond to that?
I think it's community. I think, and community has that give and take-ness about it. I mean, it's like my church I was talking about before, I guess, in a way. It really is community. I don't know, did I pass that test? It sounds like an empty kind of comment, but it really is community.
Yeah. No, I mean, you hit on it before. It's when you're having a bad day, when you come in here and you get the support from the people that, you're with every single day that you see in class, and like, you don't realize it, but if you're with those people for 6 months at the same class and you're saying, hey, how you doing every single day, in those 6 months, you have no idea what that person's been through.
Yeah.
But you've seen them in a good mood. You've probably seen them in a bad mood. Maybe they haven't said anything, but the number of little impacts you could have had on that person in those 6 months and not even known it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just acting normal. You're doing the same thing. You're giving them a fist bump. But one day they could have really needed that fist bump.
I think people definitely search out those people too. I mean, I've definitely talked to different people at the gym, and I pick up on that. Like, they look forward to seeing you.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
All right, man.
I really appreciate the time.
An hour and 10 minutes.
I know.
Your journey is such a huge inspiration.
Sorry, everybody,
to people.
if you got to watch this thing.
No, it's totally cool. Honestly, though, your journey and watching you in here from day one to where you're at now, and occasionally you'll send me pictures of where you were prior to that, and the changes that you've made in your life that have been positive towards a healthier life, a longer life, hopefully, but a more fulfilled life. It's lifespan and health span, how long of those years that you're here on earth.
Yes.
Because we have somewhat no control over that, right?
Yeah.
What's going to happen is going to happen. But if you can be healthy and active and independent for every single one of those moments that you're on this earth, and then when it's time to, see you later, you lived it to your fullest, and you didn't have to, refrain from doing things because you took these into consideration. Like, that's amazing. That's all I could ever wish for anybody. And, you're the living, breathing example of that. And, I'm super proud of you. And,
Thank you.
So many times.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's true. Because, I try to have an impact on everybody's life that comes through here. And I'm going to impact them in different ways. And when somebody comes through that door, like yourself, that just, fully allows themselves to be vulnerable and learn and change their previous thoughts and their habits, and let it kind of, do its thing. And then all of a sudden you realize the benefits behind that and just take it for everything that it's worth. Like, that's so amazing to me. That in itself, hands down, that one opportunity that I had to help you is, what's worth it about this whole thing. And, I hope if anybody hears and listens to this podcast, they're inspired by that, everybody's journey is going to look a little bit different. But when you come in here and you're a little bit vulnerable and you're willing to learn, whatever your journey looks like, we're going to help you along, and it's going to be a pretty awesome destination when you get there.
I mean, you should be proud of yourself, because I haven't been to any gyms to compare, and I don't think I would want to, because what's the point? But the things that you've done for me personally, and I see you do for others, I mean, it's amazing. So yeah, those three things were, nutrition, exercise, and community. But like a piece of yourself is always going out. I mean, I kind of sometimes worry about, like, the other day when I said I was worried about coming to meet you because, oh God, he's busy. Like, I'm concerned that I'd be taking a piece away from you, because you have to give of yourself.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you do it, John? Like, that's what goes through my head.
If I'm busy, I'm doing things that I probably don't want to do, but I have to do because it's a business at the end of the day.
I get it, but
when those come through my inbox and I see and I get the opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with somebody, like, dude, it's 8:53 p.m. on a Tuesday night.
I know.
And we've been talking about this since last week. I've been so excited to have this conversation. Yeah. So, like, anybody out there that's listening to this, like, dude, let's sit down and talk.
You are definitely giving yourself over. And again, it's one of my, goals and values is to kind of give back myself. I appreciate this vehicle to help others. And I'm sure you're right. Like, probably even if it's one person that gets a tiny little piece out of this, then, I feel good about that.
It's worth it.
And I'd like to be able to give back. So people talk to me about different things. I'd love to talk about it because it's fun for me now.
Yeah. I love
Might
it.
not be fun for Dev to see me go crazy on,
God bless
my
that
fitness
woman.
pal, but
God bless that woman.
But no, I appreciate the time. But again, like, thank you for being, there for me. But Jesus, I appreciate that you have your support group too. I mean, your parents are amazing for you. Like, I think having that support structure around you, you and Courtney, and and your kid and your parents and your kids. Yeah, they'll be soon, right?
It's important.
Yeah,
Very important.
Yeah. But thank you.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. Everybody, I hope you really enjoyed this episode. We're going to keep these Member Corner episodes coming in hot and
I
regular.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, just because, Jeff's has an amazing story, and there's so many other amazing stories in this gym.
Yeah.
And, we're at the point where I just want to start telling them. Because people will tell me, they'll send me a text message, they're talking about all this good stuff, but, like, the world needs to know that. And the world needs to know how, people's lives are changing for the better. And, it doesn't have to be complicated, but it just is a little bit of help from somebody else, and you're going to get there. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to keep telling these stories. It's 8:55. I'm starving. I'm sure you're starving.
I had a yogurt.
You did, and I was jealous of that yogurt as you were eating it. I almost stole it from you.
Should have brought you some pancakes.
But enjoy, everybody. Always open to feedback, and we will see you on the next one. Yep. See ya.
Thanks.